2,000 years ago. Most people believed the Sahara Desert was impossible to live in. Endless sand, scorching heat, and almost no water. Yet hidden deep within this vast desert, an extraordinary civilization was quietly rising. They were called the Garamantes. Their homeland lay in what is now southwestern Libya, far from the great rivers that nourished other ancient civilizations. Unlike Egypt, they had no Nile. Unlike Mesopotamia, they had no Tigris or Euphrates. Every drop of water meant survival. But instead of abandoning the desert, the Garamantes learned how to master it. Beneath the burning sands, they discovered hidden underground water. Then they built an astonishing network of tunnels that carried fresh water across the desert. It was an engineering achievement far ahead of its time. Soon, green fields appeared where no one thought crops could grow. Villages became towns. And towns grew into a powerful kingdom. This was only the beginning of one of Africa's most remarkable forgotten civilizations. The Garamantes had one question to answer. How do you build a kingdom where there is almost no rain? Their answer lay beneath the desert. Deep underground, hidden below the scorching sands, were ancient reserves of fresh water. But reaching that water was only half the challenge. The Garamantes dug hundreds of underground tunnels, some stretching for several kilometers. These tunnels, known today as foggeras, gently carried water from underground aquifers to farms, villages, and cities. Because the water flowed below the surface, the blazing desert sun could not evaporate it. It was a brilliant system that turned dry land into fertile fields. Wheat, barley, dates, grapes, and other crops flourished where most people saw only endless sand. This remarkable engineering allowed the Garamantes to feed a growing population and support a thriving kingdom. Long before modern machinery, they had solved one of the greatest challenges of desert life. Their greatest treasure wasn't gold. It was water. As the Garamantes mastered the desert, their reputation began to spread. Travelers from distant lands heard stories of a thriving kingdom hidden beneath the Sahara sun. Soon, long caravans crossed the desert carrying salt, ivory, precious stones, animal hides, and other valuable goods. At the heart of this growing network stood Garama, the kingdom's capital. It was more than just a city. It was a gateway between sub-Saharan Africa and the Mediterranean world. One of the greatest powers of the time, the Roman Empire, soon took notice. Sometimes, the Romans traded peacefully with the Garamantes. At other times, the two powers clashed over control of important desert routes. Ancient Roman writers described the Garamantes as skilled desert riders who could travel across the harsh Sahara with remarkable speed. Their knowledge of the desert gave them an advantage that outsiders could rarely match. While other civilizations feared the endless sands, the Garamantes had turned the desert into their greatest strength. Their wealth continued to grow. But every great empire eventually faces new challenges. For centuries, the Garamantes had done what many believed was impossible. They had transformed one of the harshest deserts on Earth into a thriving civilization. But no empire lasts forever. As the centuries passed, the underground water that had sustained their farms began to decline. Trade routes across the Sahara also changed, and fewer caravans passed through Garama. Without the same flow of trade and resources, the kingdom gradually lost its strength. By the early centuries of the first millennium, the Garamantes were no longer the dominant power they had once been. Their great cities slowly faded into the desert. Sand-covered roads. Farms disappeared. And the once busy capital of Garama grew quiet. Yet the Garamantes were never truly forgotten. Archaeologists have uncovered their cities, tombs, and remarkable underground water tunnels, revealing the story of a civilization that mastered the Sahara through intelligence, engineering, and determination. Today, their legacy reminds us that Africa's history is filled with extraordinary kingdoms whose achievements changed the world, even if their names are rarely mentioned. The Garamantes didn't conquer the desert. They learned how to live with it. And that may have been their greatest victory of all. If you enjoyed this journey into Africa's forgotten past, subscribe to the History of Africa for more untold stories.